When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can share the thrill with friends using our exclusive Bet Share feature.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali. Following an exciting week at the Kentucky Derby, we were all in person together, now back in our homes in Louisville, Lexington, and Darin's back on his throne as the king of Staten Island. And we're going to talk our best bets. I have to give him that nickname. We're going to talk our best bets and fades today for Churchill Downs and Belmont at the Big A. And Darin, I'll start with you. You had a big week at the Derby, big wins across the board. And so did James too, but I'll go with you today, Darin, first. So what's your best bet of the week?
Yeah, we'll try to parlay our Derby winnings into a successful weekend right afterwards. But I'm going to the Belmont at Aqueduct card on Saturday, Peter Pan Day. Race number 7, the Man of War Stakes. I'm looking at the race, and for a mile and 3/8 turf race, I should say, this race has an awful lot of early speed and horses that want to be laying close to the pace. We know what So High wants to do. Tawny Port wants to be forward in here. Rocket and Roll, Silver Knot, and Nation's Pride are all the types that like to lay relatively close. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm going to take a horse that won last week on the lead, but it's not his preferred trip in Ohana Honor. I think they finally found out what this horse wants to do, and that's run extremely long distances. If you watch the replays from his previous 3 starts, he just gets on track a little bit too late, whether it's going a mile and a 16th, a mile and an eighth, and all of a sudden they put him in a mile and a half and he inherits the lead, granted through a very slow pace. I certainly recognize that, and against lesser competition, but he couldn't have won that race any more impressively. I think he's going to revert back to his closing tactics here. Respect the connections quite a bit. And I love the fact that this horse ran a much improved race on the Ragozin sheets when stretching out to a marathon distance. He ran a 10 1/4 last time out, which was a new top coming off of an 11 towards the latter part of last year. And when you take a look at the rest of the field, they're all running similar, if not slower figures at similar distances. Silver Knot ran a 9 last time out, so Ohana Honor is right there. The price is going to be right. So we're going to take a bit of a swing here, Ashley, at 6-1 with the Son of Honor code.
I have some things to say about that race as well, but I'll save it for our later segments. So I'll turn it over to James.
I consider Nation's Pride for my fade. He's the 8-5 morning line favorite. I want to try to beat him. I can respect Ohana's Honor. I mean, 6-1, you're going to get probably a little bit of value in there. I even took a look at this Greek order for Juddmonte and Belmont. Thought he was a little interesting, but my top pick, Silver Knot. We'll see if he keeps moving forward like I think he will off of that last race. That is a good turf race at Aqueduct on Saturday. My best bet of the week is going to be in the finale at Churchill Saturday. Number 6, La La Rose in race 11 on Saturday at Churchill Downs. This is a 3-year-old filly that took some money in her career debut at Fairgrounds on January 6th and broke sharply, then dropped back. And she was making a big move into the far turn on the inside, but she was just cut off. She lost momentum, dropped back a little bit. She came back into it. We don't see the replay here. She's on the far outside, but she had to check again at the top of the stretch. She got swung like out wide by Pedroza that day. And I really like how the winner of this race, Wonder of You, perfect trip, 2-1 winner. I love how she really just tried to still reel her in after all the trouble. And I expect her to progress significantly off that performance for the Foley barn. This is a $195,000 short yearling purchase. She's by Boldoro. Her dam's a sister to 2023 Santa Anita handicap winner Stiletto Boy. So lots of pedigree in this family. And I thought it was a very encouraging debut. Tyler Gaffleone, the addition of him won't help my price any, but still, she's like the third choice on the morning line, and I really like her chances in race 11, La La Rose, Ashley.
I agree with you, especially picking up Tyler Gaffleone. I like this filly as well. And I'm going to go with race 10, the Mamselle Stakes, the stakes race on the card at Churchill on Saturday. I'm going with number 12. I'm About to Go at 7-2 on the morning line. This is a 3-year-old who's unbeaten from 2 starts and broke her maiden at 5 furlongs in a maiden special weight at Gulfstream, then won by 3 1/4 lengths at 5.5 furlongs in an allowance optional claimer at Fairgrounds. Wesley Ward is a 27% winner with horses returning from layoffs of 46 to 90 days. And Tyler Gaffalione is picking up the mount here as well. So we got the same rider on our best bet, James. So I'm going with I'm About to Go over Nice's Pie at 9-5 on the morning line, getting her first turf start here. I know she's had some really sharp workouts, but playing against with the angle that it's her first time on the turf. Her sire and dam sire both have low percentages with their progeny making their first start on the grass, as well as her trainers, a bit of a low percentage trainer, first time on the turf as well. So going to take a chance instead with Wesley Ward. And I also think if we get number 16 Hot Beach in as an also eligible first try on the turf for Brian Lynch, I think has a shot as a huge long shot to play underneath in your exotics. Just won the Limestone, which was taken off the turf at Keeneland, but I still liked Hot Beach, even if it had been on the turf at Keeneland. So if we get her in this field, I'm going to play her underneath in my exotics. Also think with Brian Hernandez on number 3, Big Trouble, also a really big price as well. Going to play in my exotics as well. I know
the old Harvey. I was going to say the old Harvey Pack adage from New York Racing Association: never wager on a favorite doing something for the first time. And Nicest Pie going to run over a turf course for the first time. I think the wagering in this race is going to be fascinating, guys, because Nicest Pie obviously has done nothing wrong yet, but Wesley Ward horses just don't go off 3.5 to 1 typically, coming off of 2 emphatic victories into a spot like this. So kind of curious to see how much action the Wesley Ward filly takes.
You mentioned that Brian Hernandez. It'll be. I took a look at these Churchill cards this week. I see several horses Brian's riding. I'm willing to upgrade him a little bit off of that Derby and Oaks weekend. You know, he's riding with a ton of confidence.
Absolutely. Well, James, I'll turn it to you for our fades of the week. So who are you fading at a short price?
Well, I know this is the kind of horse that Darin likes to fade, so I stole your thunder, Darin Zoccali. But I'm going to take number 2 Hit Show at 8-5 in race 9 at Churchill Downs on Saturday night. Look, this is a 1.8 allowance. I mean, if he was coming back at a mile or mile 16th, I'd even think it might be a little better for him. But, Hit Show is like, he's an off the pace plotting type who won the Wood Memorial last year. He ran 5th in the Derby, dead heat 4th in the Belmont. And he really regressed, I thought, off of those efforts. So those were just okay efforts, but didn't run well in the Jim Dandy. And after he ran 6th at odds on in the Oklahoma Derby in September, he was done for the year. He's going to come back in this spot for Brad Cox. He's going to be a short price. Like I said, he's a plotting off the pace type that's never been very consistent in his career anyway. And his numbers are far from overwhelming in this field. So I like number 4, Hayes Strike, but I can make a case for a couple others in here as well. And I'm going to fade Hit Show in race 9 on Saturday night, Darin, or Saturday afternoon, Darin.
You are 100% right. That is a horse that I would fade every day of the week and twice on Sunday, even though this race is on Saturday. So I'm in lockstep agreement with you there. I'm going to fade on the Churchill card in race number 3, last call in this allowance race. Last call in a spot like this. This is another horse that I fade quite a bit. 1 for 11 Lifetime, going into an entry level allowance, 1.125 miles on the turf. And the reason that this filly is 1 for 11 is because she's just a deep run closer that requires pace and requires trip in order to get the job done. And if anything goes wrong, and she sometimes has some traffic trouble, has trouble at the break, this is just a filly that for me at a short price, you got to take a stand against. And when you take a look at this field, guys, where is the speed and the pace that she needs in a spot like this going to be coming from? I just don't see it. I respect her late closing kick. I think she's just going to be a plotter that clunks up with a late rally and gets up maybe for 3rd and rounds out the bottom of exotics. But at a short price, this is another one of my typical fades that I'll try to beat every time on top, and certainly in the multi-race exotics, guys.
I like it. I think number 1, Kathy and Marissa maybe has a shot here. I even like number 7, Spartan Queen at 5-1. If you're looking for a longer price to play, not quite that long of a price, but still
Kathy
better.
and Marissa won't be 4-1. She's I think she's the Last Call should be favored, but she'll be the solid second choice. And I agree. She's very live in that spot for Dutro and Jose Ortiz.
Well, I'm going to fade number 3, the Wine Steward, at 5-2 in race 6. The Peter Pan Stakes at Belmont at the Big A. Now, the Wine Steward is the morning line favorite. Now, the Tuscan Gold is pointed toward the Preakness. Was originally 2-1 on the morning line, but no longer in the field. It's a smaller field now, only 7, I believe, in the field. And the Wine Steward, though, stretching out to 1 1/8 miles. And since he has stretched out to 1 1/16 of a mile, hasn't been able to get a win. So I don't like him at 1 1/8 of a mile. He's finished second by less than a length in those last 2 at 8.5 furlongs, so 9 furlongs. No, thank you. Not going to play him here. And his victories have come against small fields, facing just 5 rivals in his first 3 starts. Again, though, with Tuscan Gold pointing toward the Preakness, he only has 6 rivals to beat here, but I still think better horses here, Deterministic, I think can rebound. I even like Todd Pletcher's Maiden in here, Protective on the rail, I think has a shot to maybe get his first win, Integrated Stakes.
Yeah, I like the fade as well. It's actually going to be a field of 6, by the way, because Lonesome Boy is also going to not run here and is going to run in the Long Branch as well. So it takes a little bit more of that speed out of it. But I agree. Deterministic, obviously with the scratch of Tuscan Gold, that 5-1 morning line price is gone. If he could bounce back, and he just simply bounced guys in the Wood Memorial. He ran a monster figure in the Gotham and regressed off of it. If he's a quality individual, he certainly has a right to cycle back forward. I think Protective is certainly interesting in there at a decent price as well. And I even think Antiquarian, who's coming out of the Louisiana Derby, where Catching Freedom ran a really good 4th in the Kentucky Derby, and Anna Marie, who was completely wiped out at the start of the Kentucky Derby. It was amazing watching the head-on of that start, guys. Everybody from post 1 through 11, with the exception of the winner, had their chances severely compromised right out of the gate, including Anna Marie, who, if you watch that horse in a solo shot, made a monster move on the far turn, just rocketing past horses up the rail, and just had too much left to overcome, and is definitely a horse that I'm going to want to play next time. I think the Louisiana Derby is still a key race to come out of, and I think Antiquarian's got a big shot in there as well, Ashley.
I'm actually saying all the horses post 1 through 9, with the exception of Mystic Dan. Those Japanese horses, they can't break from the gate. I mean, you come on. I mean, if you're picking Japanese horses in the Derby, Darren, you know they're going to have some shortcomings. So
got beat 2 noses on the wire. Come on, man.
No, I'm just playing. No, that slow start cost him, though. I mean, to me, and Sierra Leone's lugging in, and Mystic Dan gets the trip he wanted, but I thought that slow start. I mean, it obviously cost Tio Password. He had never rated off the pace in his life, and there they both are. Sierra Leone was in front of the Japanese horses early on the backstretch. That's how poorly they got out of the gate. So I really thought that cost Forever Young a good chance of winning.
But hey, you all both hit your exotics in the Derby, Darren. I know you got that. You got the exacta and the try, right?
Yeah, multiple times.
And James hit the superfecta for how many years running?
3 of the last 4.
no big deal. 3 out of the last 4 in the Derby.
Long shots the last 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we move on to what else is going on this weekend, Darren, what promos do we have? Now that the Derby's over, we have a whole bunch of new promos.
Yeah, it's kind of like we hit that recycle button. So we have selected races money back at Churchill Downs every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So be sure to check that out. We'll be updating the races. The races that have been selected for the next 3 days is certainly up there. So money back offer, same as we had Derby week, just selected races on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This Friday, we have the Power Hour from 4 to 5. We're bringing that back, 15% profit boost on all eligible races between the hour of 4 and 5 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, the May the 10th. And we're going to bring it back again on Friday, May the 24th. But this Friday, that will be a part of what we do. And we have a new offer that we started this past week. Belmont at the Big A on Sunday. We're going to offer up Pick 5 insurance. You can get up to $50 back on your Pick 5 ticket in the late Pick 5 if you have 4 out of 5 in your ticket. So even if you have a tough beat and you lose out on a big score potentially, we'll give you back up to $50 worth of your ticket if you do end up with 4 out of 5 there. So got a lot to look forward to, some really exciting new promos. And of course, next week we'll talk about what we have in the hopper for the Preakness as well, Ashley.
And I'll stick with you, Darren. Let's talk about what else you're looking forward to this weekend.
Same race that we talked about James's best bet in La La Rose. The debut of Ellen J, who is a daughter of Constitution out of the mare Kofifi. And if that name sounds familiar to you, that was the 2019 champion 3-year-old filly, the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint winner. She was an absolute freak of nature on the racetrack, and she's teamed up here with the son of Tappet with a $110,000 stud fee for trainer Brad Cox. This is Kofifi's first offspring. So really excited to see what she looks like on the racetrack. Could not be working any better. Look at the last 4 workouts, and you could watch a couple of them too. They're out there. 47-3, a 46-4 bullet, followed by a minute blowout, and then a nice 47-4 breeze from the gate. She looks like she's got her mother's speed in the morning. We'll see if it translates in the afternoon, but I'm excited to see Ellen J debut at Churchill on Saturday.
James, you already talked about that race. I know you're going a different route, but what else do you like?
Hey, she's going to take a lot of money. She's the 3-1 morning line favorite, and definitely one to keep an eye on. I'll mention for my what else. We've talked about the Peter Pan already, but this race is the traditional local prep, and for the Belmont Stakes 2 weeks later. I'm sorry, 4 weeks later, and it's. Of course, the Belmont is going to be at Saratoga this year, so it's not at the same track, but it still has value for horses that missed the Derby, that can hop in the Triple Crown and the Belmont Stakes, the Prep and the Peter Pan. And the Peter Pan has produced 2 of the last 5 Belmont winners. Sir Winston ran second back in 2019, and last year Arcangelo swept both races on the way to becoming champion 3-year-old male. I wanted to mention with Deterministic, I do like him to rebound from his disappointing 8th in the Wood Memorial. Darin mentioned him bouncing in the Wood, but to me, the signs were all there, because there was at a point, it was a 5-week gap between the Gotham. The Gotham was Deterministic's first start since August. There was a 5-week gap to the Wood Memorial. And at one point during that interim, Christophe Clement mentioned possibly training Deterministic up to the Kentucky Derby, which I know he had no intention to do. But to me, that was a telltale sign that something didn't go according to plan after the race. I mean, I just don't think he bounced back out of that Gotham right away. He needed more time or more works or something. He didn't fire a step in there. He was done by the start of the far turn in the Wood. And one thing that I really like about Deterministic is he has come back with a strong series of works. I think, you can listen to Clement talk about him. He's all bullish now, where before he was all apprehensive sounding. And I do think Deterministic, like Darin said before, is going to get back. Darin said he was a candidate to bounce back. I think point blank he's going to bounce back on Saturday and win the Peter Pan.
Yeah, Ashley, you had mentioned it's the traditional. We're talking about being the traditional Belmont Stakes prep. I think it's fascinating with this year, the Belmont not being at 1.5 miles, because some of these horses that are going to be some of the favorites in here, they don't really have 1.5 mile pedigrees. So I'd be curious if this race with the Belmont was 1.5 miles, Deterministic being by a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner out of a Speightstown mare doesn't exactly scream. It doesn't scream 1.25 miles, to be honest with you, either. And if the race was 1.5 miles, the horse that I would probably be interested in coming out of here is Protective, who's by Medaglia d'Oro out of an Empire Maker mare, who looks like he's going to get every bit of ground as it goes longer, and still could be a threat going 1.25 miles up at Saratoga coming out of this as well if he runs well here. So a lot of different interesting kind of tweaks this year with the race at 1.25 miles, with being a little bit different of a prep scenario, but still the local prep, you have to imagine that 1 or 2 of these are going to show up in the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
And I'll take it back to the Peter Pan again. We talked about Ohana Honor already, Darin, but Flavian Pratt's hopping off of Ohana Honor and is on Silver Knot, who he just won the Elkhorn with, and that's my pick as well in this race. And I know, James, you said you like Silver Knot as well. I just like his form over his stablemate too. Obviously, Nation's Pride coming off a long layoff. We'll have Frankie Dettori, but Frankie Dettori is a little bit cold this last week at Churchill, and he was red hot at Santa Anita, but this last week kind of cooled down. So I'm going to look for Silver Knot to get the win here in the Man o' War Stakes, but definitely an interesting field and 2 Charlie Appleby runners. And we just saw 2 at the Elkhorn, and we saw the heavy morning line favorite lose the Elkhorn as well with Bold Act. So I'm going Silver Knot here. We also have a grade 3 I wanted to mention real quick, the Run Happy Stakes and race 4 at Belmont as well. So 3 graded stakes at Belmont at the Big A. It's not at Belmont, it's at Aqueduct, sorry.
And I'm looking forward to seeing that shooting. And is it shooting and cruising? What's the horse, Darin?
Where in the Run Happy?
Yeah,
Straight No Chaser.
Straight No Chaser. Gosh,
That was close.
I'm excited to see him back.
Good horse name too.
Straight
And
No Chaser. Just like I like
refresh.
my shots. No, that horse is making his first start since a brilliant performance on the Preakness undercard last year. So happy to see him back in the Run Happy.
Straight No Chaser was James at the Derby after party after hitting 3 of the last 4 Derby Supers.
Keep on the down low. All right, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Head to twinspires.com or the app for all those promos that Darin mentioned, and we'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades.